There he is. You're muted.
Good, because my proper tense was off and everything. I'm saying we in the building. We are in the building.
Yes, we are. How you doing?
I'm doing well, bro. I'm doing well. Just excited about today, to be honest with you. I'm excited about today. For those who do not know,
We in
I'm
for
not.
it.
Listen, I'm not even gonna get too far out of
Don't say
character.
nothing. They're not
I'm
gonna
not.
know
Y'all
anyway.
have no idea what's coming. I'm telling you right now. Today is going to be special.
Yo, big homie is in the building.
Oh, that's a fact. That's a fact. And
Do
I
you
don't say
understand what
that.
I'm saying?
I don't say that about many folks, but
Right.
this one is by
Yes.
far,
So
by
we
far.
hope y'all enjoy what we have to bring to your ears, to your eyes tonight. We're not even gonna play with the subject too much. You know what I'm saying? We gotta keep true to the content and to the
Mhm.
to the to the format. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to upset y'all that are Brother Jamal and Rob Felder fans, but
Mhm.
I gotta let you know we're trying to get out of the way as soon as we possibly can,
For sure.
so that we can hear from our special guest tonight. And Rob, our you know, I guess we've started somewhat of a leadership series. A couple of weeks ago, last week,
Mhm.
with 3 weeks ago with Professor Stallworth when we talked about thinking outside of the box, and
Yes.
then last week we talked about unprepared to manage and unequipped to lead.
Mhm.
Now tonight we're going to take it a step further with a very, very relevant subject matter to what corporate trauma is, and that is wellness
Yes.
and operational leadership. And
Mm.
I'm glad I'm glad we're talking about it in these certain terms, specific terms. Wellness
Mhm.
is a very distinct concept, right? And operational leadership is not to be confused with visionary leadership, charismatic leadership. It's not to be confused with managerial leadership. Operational leadership is something very specific. And again, we're not the subject matter experts. We have a subject matter expert tonight that's
Yes.
going to take us further into that conversation. But Rob, when I say wellness and operational leadership, what does that mean to you?
So for me, first is when I think about wellness, I think about the individual first, right? Think about the individual, that person having an idea of what works for them, right? So first and foremost, understanding yourself, what you need, what you may lack, or what you may be missing, understanding how to get it, and understanding how your place of employment fits into that,
Right.
right? And then when we talk about on an operational side, how to actually make it work, how to make things work for all of those involved. So for me, those are the first things that pop out that I think about off the top of my head.
Yeah, you know what? Because when we, as hypothetical and
Hmm.
literal um, individuals that have day jobs and whatnot and work for organizations or through organizations, right? That's what I consider myself. I consider myself a professional given the ability to do my work through organizations that
Yeah.
my ideals align with, right?
Hmm.
And it's taken me a long time to get there. And to arrive at that level of consciousness around what I do as a professional. And wellness is a part of that, right?
Hmm.
Wellness is a big part of that because if I'm not aligned with my ideals and what I'm doing professionally is not aligned, I'm not well. And
Hmm.
and sometimes the first thing that we get pushed back on is, we're not in the business of Jamal's wellness, right? We're in the business of whatever it is we're in the business of,
Hmm.
right? So it takes a certain type of leadership
Hmm.
and culture that complements the leadership in order to be able to envelop
Hmm.
wellness into an operational plan that produces the desired results of the organization, as well as take care of the people that get the job done,
Hmm.
right? You can't tell me don't separate the two. Like that's I can't deal with you if you want me to separate the two. You want me to wear three hats.
Yep.
You're paying me for one, and then you're holding me accountable for goals not being reached,
Hmm.
and then expect me to be happy. You're like, no, no, no. You can't have it. People say you can't have it both ways. You can't have it all four or five of them, seven of them ways.
Yeah, that's a fact. And the craziest thing about that, and what always jumps out to me, um, the whole entire industrial era was all about optimizing performance, but not figuring out how to help the individual optimize themselves. Right now, the new age that we're in, people are trying to figure out how to recapture time, how to be more effective, how to be more productive. But that next piece is being able to bring full circle. How do you do all of that in the workplace? How do you bring your authentic self? How do you make sure you're not leaving your heart at home, and also being able to bring full circle your successful self in the workplace and then your successful self outside? So in the crazy thing, and I know our guests can definitely speak to it, but we also have to be realistic that majority, and I'm talking about a heavy majority of the companies, that's not their focus, and they're not built for that. They're not built for those pieces. They're built for how do we make sure our stakeholders are getting properly compensated for the monies they've put in.
That's correct. And that's a big part of it. And it's not easy. Don't get us wrong. We're not saying that it's easy. That's why it takes a certain level and caliber of a leader to make it all fit, to make it all work. You know what I'm saying? And because it's not easy, because there's always going to be somebody or something that doesn't necessarily go right, but one of the principles that I've included in the corporate trauma training of servant leadership is an individual who has the ability to do the best thing for the most people. And because the people that is executing the work is a reflection of the people that your organization is serving. Whether you're a for-profit, nonprofit, whether you're in education, you can't. It's a parallel process. It's a mirror image, because you as a professional working within an organization can't fully and effectively, impact positive results if you can't put yourself in the mind of your number one constituency outside of the staff, which is your customers or or those that are the object of your, or the target of your service, whatever it is that you, or the, like you said, who's the customer, right? Or if you're an education institution, right? If the professors have never been students, then what are we doing? Right? If the teachers and the educators have never been in the position of being educated, right? Then how are you running a school, right? Or whatever it is. It's you can't get away from it. So but my original point, in response to what you're saying, it's not easy. It's not easy. That's why you have to give people through leadership the permission to be themselves within what it is that you're trying to produce. Right. It's like if I was a martial artist and I had my own martial arts studio and I taught a particular art form, and I tried to make all my students be me. Instead of instructing them to find themselves within what I'm getting them, then it's a huge missed opportunity. The art never comes to life. Right? What you're trying to produce never is quite sustainable, right? Unless you're selling air and water. I mean, but anything else is not sustainable, Rob.
You know what's interesting about that? And I'll use your analogy. I don't know if we talk about karate, one of those forms of martial arts. When you really think about it, pushing someone to be the best version of themselves as a coach, as a manager, as a leader is a heavy task, right? Now the question will always be, for where you're working, are they also pushing you to be the best version of you? And are they giving you the proper resources to be able to do that? And that's always going to be the question. And a lot of times, whether you work in for-profit or nonprofit, people will tell you they're in the business of training others, but they've never been properly trained. Or they're in the business of coaching others, and no one has ever sat down and said, how do I help get you to the next level?
Right.
How do I make sure that I'm optimizing who you are from a day-to-day basis? And that is the biggest challenge, and the thing that's always left to the sideline. The people who are supposed to get people to the other side of the bridge, they're struggling to get on the other side of the bridge for themselves. Right. Just think about it. I'll get you there, but when I get to my bridge, I'm looking around, looking for who's about to help me go across, and the only thing I see is the trolls.
Or better yet, I'm trying to help you get across the bridge because I never made it across mine. So let me economize my experience and try to help somebody else. And that's a great point. That's an excellent point, Rob. But go ahead.
And to be honest with you, that's the thing that folks have to be honest about. If you're in the business of maximizing the value of people as a service, then you also have to be in the business of maximizing those who you've given the challenge of maximizing others. I hope I didn't lose people on that one.
Nah,
but when you really think
you ain't
about
lose
it,
nobody.
Being able to really be honest about that, like, hey, whatever you came in the door with, we're going to 10x that. Right? We're going to take that to the next level. Like that's something that I would challenge folks on. Regardless of where you work at, who you are, how much effort do you put in to getting your team to the next level? And then it just goes to that old adage.
Yep.
If you're afraid to train them because they might leave, then those untrained people are the people you're running with. I didn't rephrase that whole entire thing.
No. It's the multiplier effect.
You know what I mean?
It's the multiplier effect. But listen, Rob, we're not the subject matter experts in this.
I know.
Right? We got one this evening, and we're gonna bring her to the floor not now, but right now. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Allie James?
Wow, thank you. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, here and abroad.
So listen, but check it out, right?
Forward to it.
Rob, first of all,
do that thing you do, Jamal.
Hey, listen. First of all, this is historical because Allie is the first New Yorker, right?
New Yorker
on our podcast, right? You know what I'm saying? It's only right. It's only right that we highlight that part, right?
Yes.
Allie James. What could I say? Caribbean American New Yorker, leader, consultant, diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist. See, I have a saying that I give to those that I coach, clients and young people alike, that people will not be able to see you if what you're doing is not coming from a real place. And if that concept was in the dictionary, right, with a picture next to it, the picture would be of, yes, like Angela and Tanisha said, a phenomenal woman would be Allison James. There's nothing about what this young, phenomenal leader does that comes from a place that is not real.
That is a fact.
That is a fact. And I don't have, it's so many different ways, Rob, that we could probably introduce her to the Level Up Past Corporate Trauma community. But when we say real, I don't mean like keep it real in the cliche sense. I mean, when you hear her speak, know that what she is saying is coming from a place that she has experienced first as an individual and helped other people collectively through her experiences. It's from a real place. So, Allie, what an honor. What a pleasure. Thank you so much for allowing us to take a few minutes of your time. We thank Russell.
Yes, we do.
For sharing
Russell
with us. You know what I'm saying? Allie is a boy mom, right? So we thank your sons for sharing you with us because we, Rob, and I speak for Rob and myself, we wouldn't be where we are as professionals were it not for your contribution and your service.
Thank you.
So thank you.
I knew, and before she gets the opportunity to speak, I knew day one 2012,
Go ahead.
September or October, downtown Wall Street, New York City, I walked into the office and I said, "Oh my goodness, this person is awesome."
Right.
That was the first thing that came to my mind, and I want folks to really process. You ever hear when folks say give people their flowers?
Yeah.
When you have people around you who've impacted your life so tremendously, you do your best to make sure that if you get the opportunity with all the lights on and the pearls glittering, you make sure you take the opportunity to not only thank them, but to let the world know how awesome they are. And I would tell anybody that there is no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't claim too many mentors, too many people who do awesome work. And I would say I would take a back seat to, right?
That's
But Allie James is in a class of her own. And for anybody who would question that, I would go to war with.
Yes.
I'll end it there. I will end it there. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
He'll beat you
if
up.
you are watching this podcast,
He'll beat you up.
you will understand why I'm excited today. You will see what my phone calls are like when I'm on the call with Allie.
Yeah.
Even when she's checking me or telling me that I told one of these students, nah, Rob, I don't think that was right. So
No, that's not how she said. That's not how she said. She said, you know, I'm gonna push back on that.
I will push back.
So I will leave it there. I will give my bow early, and the floor is back to y'all.
Yeah. So, Allie, tell the good people out there who may not know you, who you are, and a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Brother Jamal. This is an exciting time for me. To be with you in this particular space. I've known each of you and have followed your tremendous careers for many years. And the one thing that we have in common, and I think that that's what holds people together in times of trial. And that's why this topic, this conversation that we're having about wellness, about operational wellness, because the truth of the matter is most adults spend a lot of their time, if not most of their time, at work, in work, doing work. But what I've come to understand about you, brothers, is your absolute commitment to doing good and to being good. And that I think has been our touchstone.
Yes.
Right? Is that we feel that way truly, authentically, and the work we do reflects that inner value and that perspective. So I come to that place. A little bit about me is why doing good matters, and doing good for the people who you work with or who maybe even report to you is so critical, and pushing a company to be good in the interest of their people is paramount, because my story is one of most people. I'm an immigrant. I'm the daughter of immigrants. I'm a first generation college student. I've worked in business. I've had success. I've been the recipient of good programs, and have been the victim when there weren't any. And so I come to this space of business in that if a company does not come from the perspective that its people is its most valuable asset, if they don't understand that big picture and then put in operations and policies and practices in place, then they're missing an important business directive. And so the work that I do, I'm about to start a new career as the director of USA Diversity and Inclusive strategy at MSF USA, which is known as Doctors for Borders Without Borders. And I'm so excited about this new journey. Many of you know me and have heard about me, and Rob and Brother Jamal and I have worked at Inroads, where I was the regional director. And so the work of doing good is really important. But more importantly, the work of that has to happen when you see people, when your business operatives and the wellness of your people align with your business imperatives. And so I'm just really excited about our conversation today and tonight. And I thank you for having me. This is awesome.
I told her she was real.
If it's shut down right now, I want to make sure I look at y'all right now. If it shuts down right now, you probably got more than what you've gotten from a lot of other shows. I will tell you right now, if you can't process that piece when you go to work and you're talking about aligning who your people are as well as with the business goals, you're missing something.
You're missing something so desperate in your life. But Allie.
Yes.
I got a question for you, right? So what is the impact, right, of operational leadership on wellness for professionals?
Well, I think as I was sitting in the green room, I heard you talk about, or you guys were talking about, that there can be no space between the two, right? So when businesses recognize, whether they're for-profit, sometimes people say, oh, that doesn't happen in non-for-profit versus profit. Culture is a byproduct of consistent behavior, right? So when organizations, leaders, whether they're in for-profit or non-for-profit, when they prioritize the health and the well-being of their most valuable assets, their people, then they begin to not just invest in the people, but it's an investment in the health of their business. Organizations are powered by people, by teams. So behind the employees, these are the people who keep the operations moving, growing, and evolving. The teams, your people, are your best competitive advantage. And so when a company understands that and then puts practices, policies, procedures, protocols in place to address that most valuable asset, to protect that most valuable asset, then they are really investing truly, both short and long term, in the health and the financial well-being of their business. So whether you're in business to make money, or whether you're in business to make money so you can do good, the foundation of that has to be an investment, a real, critical, credible, tangible, operational investment in your people. That's why it's important.
Lord,
it's good business.
Hey, listen, Rob, she sounds like she knows what she's talking about.
It sounds like we should see her on one of those TV ads where at the bottom it says masterclass.
Yes.
Right? And I say that because, one, to speak with authority also means that you understand it on multiple ends, right? Yes. So it's not just something where, hey, I read it, right, or I read about it, or I studied it. Right. I also experienced it from both ends. I experienced it as a leader and also as someone who was being led. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when we hear folks speak about things, they may not be able to speak with authority because they may not have all those different areas tapped into. So I'm always telling folks, go out there and search, find you somebody who knows. And when I just want to tap this last piece. So when I met Allie in 2012, I got that the first day I walked in the door.
Yeah. Day one.
And I want you to understand, I tell folks all the time, you go somewhere, people challenge me on this. You should be excited about interacting with people you work with.
That's right.
Because ultimately,
Without a doubt.
when you get around them, it's one of those times where you're like, hey, I'm going to get this everything I got. I might get shot down today, but I know when I walk out of here, I'm going to be better.
Right.
Those are the type of people that you want in your organization. And imagine if you had a whole entire workforce of people like that. Imagine the impact that you can make on the customers, the constituents, those who you serve. Imagine the impact that you can make on the world when everybody in your organization is sharpening themselves when they come into the office. Just imagine.
Listen, because it's simple, Rob. If you don't come alive when you go to work, you killing the business.
Mm-hmm.
It's dead because you don't have any enthusiasm. But you know, she speaks with authority because, like I said, it comes from a real place. We're not talking about a leader here that's sitting in an ivory tower. We're talking about someone who is amongst the front line, you know, hands on. But we can continue to go there. But Ali, so you know, one of the I'm excited to ask you this question because I think it's something that you have to offer that I haven't heard you give your opinion or your consultative perspective on, which is what are the omissions, the mistakes that you've seen from organizational leadership with respect to their staff's wellness or well-being? Like what you talked about infrastructure, policies, procedures, you know, follow-up and execution around operations and operational leadership impacting wellness. But what have you seen being left out? Because we know some of the things that you know are necessary, like work-life. The people always talk about work-life balance, paid time off, appreciation, recognition, right? Those are the things that people always talk about including. But what have you seen being omitted in the mistakes that organizational leaderships make?
Well, I think that's a really loaded question because I think that there are organizations that do some things well and not others. But I think a big one is kind of the one that I kind of started off with. It is the perspective that people are your most valuable asset. So so the omission is in that kind of tagline. So think about this, right? When you have valuable things, you put things in place to protect it, right?
Right.
You don't, if you have a Mercedes Benz or some kind of luxury car, you don't leave it parked in a back alley, right? If you've got fancy paintings or valuable things, you insure it, you protect it, you preserve it. But in corporate America, particularly in societies like this one, where corporate greed has taken over in ways that is so unhealthy for the society as a large, in large, the omission is just that the that people, your people, the people who drive your business, who help you to go in front of your shareholders and talk about all that you've done, if they're not sharing in the reward and only the work, that's the omission. So it doesn't kind of matter where you are on that spectrum. That's the place that most companies miss. So what they will say is they will tell you, they'll get on meetings and tell you that you're an important part of you're their most valuable assets, but nothing they do not in their practice, not in their policies, not in their procedures, nothing in their allowing you to be truly authentic, right? When you push back on something, what's the label that most people get? They're troublemakers. They're not, they're not, doing the policies. They say they want disruptors, but they really want people who are sheep, right? So they
sheep.
don't want authenticity. Right? They don't want you to say, hey, you're doing this wrong and you're doing this wrong, and this is the outcome, and here's why. They don't want advocates for their staff.
Sheep.
They want sheep. They want you to be part of the go along, get along gang. They want you to stand up and say, yes, sir, that's good. That's all good. That's real good. Right? But for people who are serious about valuing their people so that can help their business grow and thrive, where people are excited and motivated to come to work, where they say, hey, you know what, you may not pay me the most, but here I feel that I am heard, that I am seen, that I'm valued, that my experiences are respected. That's the place that is on the right path,
right,
to getting to omitting some of the trauma, as you like to call it, which is so crazy. We don't, companies don't, they bring folks in to teach you Excel and to all of those things that you could get on YouTube, but they don't come in and say, I want to teach you about how to be motivated, or tell us how we could do better to help you feel better, not just do better.
Right.
Feel better about what it is you do.
Right.
And so corporate trauma is something that should be part of every learning and development curriculum in corporate America and in non-for-profits, in any business environment. So we could recognize those pain points that our employees are feeling and address them before they start to affect our business.
And something I want to make sure I touch on. Yeah. Everybody wants disruptors. They just don't want you to disrupt what they're doing.
Yes.
Right. And once you said it, I said, dang, I don't know why I never think about it like that. Right? Because ultimately we want disruptors. They want you to disrupt the market. They want you to disrupt, hey, come up with a new product or service that can help us kill off the mother businesses, and we can only be the one. Right. But when it comes down to saying, hey, some of the practices and some of the things that you're doing, they don't align with the outcomes you're looking for. We need actual change. There's an issue. It's sort of like America, right? It's a microcosm of America, right? We want a whole lot of things. We want to be great. We want to be awesome. We want to fight for freedom. And then when you look closely on the inside of it, there are some things that if it was really about those values compared to comfortability, then things would change. And a lot of times it's that comfortability, that ability to wake up and just know that what was yesterday, it is today, right? Whatever that behavior is, whatever those actions are, you wake up and you're like, you know what? I'm happy nothing changed about what I love today. But what you love is also probably what creates havoc in someone else's life.
And I just want to add that we're not talking about a utopia, right? We're grown folks here.
That's correct.
Right? Right? We understand that that business, capitalism, no one is looking for social utopia, none of that. But what we're talking about is this myopic view that if you truly invest in your people, somehow you're going to make less money. And the truth of the matter is, if you invest in your people, you're going to make more money. Because what? People are going to stay longer. They're going to bring all of their experiences to bear. They are going to give you their very best. Because for the most part, people want to do well. They want to do a good job, but they get so burnt out and they become so demotivated that they're present but absent. They just do enough just to be enough. And for those of us who want to do more and be more, it becomes a very constricting environment and very counterproductive to growth, to development, to personal achievement. The environment becomes a stranglehold because you can't bring your true and authentic self. You can't bring your experiences to bear. You can only bring what they want you to hear. I used to have a mentor who used to say to me, I would get so mad that things weren't, I knew that things should be a certain way. And he would say to me, he would say, Allie, understand that you have to know when you are what people need, but not what they want.
Hmm.
You are what they need, but not what they want.
Right.
And so you have to be able to know the difference and either be okay with that and
Right.
try to work in any way you can, or you've got to disrupt and change.
Mm.
And so that's the keys. And that's why wellness is so important. So companies, I'll give you a perfect example. Companies will say, oh, you know, we have this wellness initiative and you can go out and do this, but your boss is sending you emails at 10:30 at night, right? So inherently, what does that say? Or they're like, okay, we're having a staff retreat, but let's have lunch while we work.
Yeah. It's a mixed message.
So it's all of those mixed messages. It's saying, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit, or I'm gonna give you the talking points, so I'm gonna give you the, give you the pats on the back and say what I think you want to hear, but I'm not giving you what you really want. And what most employees want is the freedom, the to grow, the freedom to add value.
Right.
And more importantly, I don't mind working hard, but when I work hard, I'd like to share in the reward. When
Right.
you are posting, billions and billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, and I got to fight you for a 1% raise or a 2% raise or a 3% raise, then you can see how that can create trauma. Because
Right.
now my eyes have got to be on the door because I got to feed my family, right? So I'm working here, but I'm thinking about getting another job out there. And
Right.
so it becomes a treadmill that that employees kind of walk on all the time. And so we have to sometimes understand that as employees too. You got to be willing to see you as the most important asset you have.
That's right.
If they may not see you as the most important asset that they have, do you see yourself as the most important asset you have? And then how do you act accordingly with the asset called you? How do you protect yourself from corporate trauma? How do you invest in your own wealth and wellness while you're being productive in that environment? How do you stay excellent when the conditions that you operate in may not be? And so it's all connected. It's all connected. Good employees who feel invested in, invest in the business, and that ultimately leads to good business and bigger business and better business.
And you make an excellent point, right? Because if all organizations are investing in their people, if people leave, you're going to inherit other people from the marketplace who have been invested in as well.
Absolutely.
So you're not losing anything in the long run. All you are is allowing people to be a part of your journey, and you be a part of their journey. But the economies of scale of how people can produce results for you is proven through your ability to allow them to be a part of the organization's journey instead of allow them to be a part of your 40-hour FTE spreadsheet distribution of payroll, right? Like that. That's not what we come, right? and just like you can't see me as a professional if what I'm doing doesn't come from a real place. I can't feel you as an organization if how you treat me doesn't come from a real place as well. So, Allie, what advice would you give leaders who plan to initiate an effective operational plan that's going to positively impact the business, but also help to ensure wellness and make wellness for its people a priority?
Well, I think it has to be that leaders have to mirror the behavior, right? So if you are telling your employees about, how you want them to have work-life balance, how you want them to come to work, but you're sending a slew of emails at 10:30 and 9:30, then tacitly, implicitly, you're telling you want people to respond to you. So even if you say, don't respond to me, the fact that you're sending it, the fact that if you're on vacation and you're sending a ton of emails and working, then when they go on vacation, they're going to think that, oh my gosh, I love this project. I need to finish it up. So let me just send one email. And listen, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't done. I've had my husband, I've told you guys these stories where he actually locked up my laptop.
Yeah, Russ.
He took the thing. He said, I'm on vacation. I would like my wife to be on vacation with me. And took the laptop as I was sleeping and locked it up. I didn't know where it was. He wouldn't budge. He wouldn't tell me. So I'm not guilting anybody. Understand that, right? I'm not trying to make you feel guilty if you work when you're at vacation. I'm just saying to you that this is an effect, an affect of a polluted culture, a culture where you're not prioritized, right? And so I'm guilty as anybody. I have, and Rob, you know this, and Brother Jamal, you know this as well. I have ended the year losing vacation time because I didn't take vacation.
That's a fact.
So I'm not telling, so for your listeners and for anybody out there, I'm not sitting on Pollyanna glasses here. Look at the dark circles under my eye because I've been working since 5 o'clock this morning, right? So I get it. But that doesn't mean that because you know it and understand it, that you don't speak out when it happens. So you asked me that question. The first thing is that leaders have got to live and mirror the behavior. So when you go on vacation, your people got to know that you're on vacation. Don't send your people emails at 11 o'clock at night, right? If you have a meditation center, then people have got to feel like they got to see you in the meditation center, right? So that's a big thing. Companies are like, oh, we got meditation centers. But when they look at the numbers, nobody using the meditation center. You know why nobody using the meditation center? Because they know if they were in the meditation center 5 minutes too long, you'd be like, where were you?
Yeah.
Please don't tell me about your meditation center and all your wellness initiatives. You're not mirroring the behavior. And then your people know that if they're 10 minutes when you're calling them and when they're in the meditation center. And so what are we doing right now? So for me, the truth of the matter is that leaders have to mirror the behavior, that they've got to give their people permission to be okay, to be well, right? We don't want you overstressed. We want to have a policy where if you're feeling that, you're comfortable to share it, knowing that nobody's going to go, well, she lazy. Well, we need to get the work done, right? So first, mirror the behavior. Remember, culture is a byproduct of consistent behavior. Understand, create that true space where people can share their authenticity about what they're feeling. If this pandemic have taught or should have taught employers anything, is that you cannot take your employees for granted. People have been under stress. They have been challenged in ways that they had never been challenged before. And so if as an employer, you don't put some policies, long sustainable practices, protocols and policies in place, to ensure that you know or understand, or your employees are comfortable to bring this to the fore, then you're going to miss out on an engaged workforce. And ultimately, assuredly, take it to the bank, write a check, you are going to impact your business in ways that you can't recover.
Wow.
You know
Wow.
what pops into mind for me? If you have to send emails at odd hours, if you have to work on your vacation, and I know this doesn't happen because regardless of where I've been, I've never seen it happen this way. Then you should probably question
Right.
how productive you are, how effective you are at doing your job. Because 9 times out of 10, when you start getting all those calls and sending out those emails, it's because of emergencies. Things have popped up that you probably didn't take care of. You either mismanaged your time, someone else mismanaged their time, someone else has forgotten something happened that now you have to pass the buck down and hope that you can get other people on board. I just think that ultimately folks have to figure out, hey, how do how do I make sure as a manager and as a leader I can be as effective as possible in my role to limit causing stress and problems on the people that I lead.
Yep. That's
Or
operational.
oh,
And Ali, I was going to say to your point
yes.
earlier, it's operational, right? Because there's nothing to write an email at 11 o'clock.
Right.
But you can go down to the send button, click the down arrow, and schedule it to be sent tomorrow
Right.
morning at 10
Right.
a.m., right? If you're thinking operationally within the culture of wellness, right?
But you hoping that they do it.
But that's
Yes,
the point. That's why you
exactly.
don't
You
Right.
do
just don't
that.
want you don't want to tell them.
Yeah.
You're hoping
Right.
that
Right.
they
That's
take
why
it
you don't
on
do it. It's
themselves.
because you want them. I know Jamal. Jamal's got notifications for his email on his phone. If I
Mhm.
send his email, he gonna see it. And if he see it and it's from me, guess what Jamal might do? He
He's gonna
might open
respond
that
and
email.
right. And think about that. Like, to Robert's point, it's about efficiency and effectiveness, right? I mean, again, like that, people are present but absent. So they work 15 hours, so their boss knows they work 15 hours, whether or not they're most productive, they're most engaged, they're most effective. Well, that's
Mhm.
data that we don't collect, right? And so think about this. People sometimes have to do that at 11 o'clock because they have too much work,
Right.
right? And
Right.
you're not in a bubble. You've got a family. Maybe you got to pick up some kids. Maybe
Right.
you got to cook some food, whatever it may be. So you're not living in a bubble. And so what happens is, because technology now have moved work out of a stationary place like an office, now you can jump on your laptop at 11 o'clock. Well, I can get this workout. So by tomorrow, after I take the kids from school, and you start your work hours extends over and over and over again. It's interesting
Yep.
that in some country,
Mhm.
I think France is one of them, and Germany is another country, where they make it illegal for managers to send emails after a certain time. I mean, they put a mandate, a federal mandate, a state mandate in place, so you can't send emails, work task to your employees post past a certain time. It is illegal.
It's
Folks
illegal.
will call that soft here, right? They'll call that
But
soft
you
here.
know what, Ali? You're making me think, right? That in a place where that is a common practice, where people are extending their work hours or working longer or doing more work and falling out of wellness because they have too much work, that's a result of somebody leaving that could have done the work.
Right.
Right. So it's not, so now it's a cycle now because the culture doesn't promote wellness, you lose people that either have the capacity to do more work, so there are no emergencies, Rob, to your point,
Mhm.
or you lose a critical mass of people that can help significantly decrease the amount of work that everybody has to do. So you're either losing capacity in an expert work staff, and now you have to employ newer people who don't have the capacity yet, but the work is still coming in at the same rate. So
Right.
now the people that are left behind with the capacity have to pull extra shifts, have to pull extra weight, right? When if you just take care of your people, if you just invest in your people, everybody does a little and nobody has to do a lot. Like I was thinking about it today. The organization that that comes to mind has trimmed, right, a lot of fat, middle management, right? There's no need to have so many managers overseeing the professionals doing the work. But you can't do that and then not pay PAY the people who are doing the work, who have become experts in their craft and don't need to be managed. You just can't have it both ways. That is not a culture or an environment of wellness.
Because wellness is not just only physical, right?
Right.
What we're talking about is trauma.
Yes.
And trauma is represented in many different forms. So, for example, you get your work done. You're like, people like, yo, Allie, you're awesome. But they don't know that behind the scene, Allie has a hard time getting up in the morning. Allie is like dreading sitting down at that computer. Now, when Allie sits down at the computer, she's gonna do what she's gonna do.
Allie's a machine.
Riley's a machine, but they don't. So my point is that trauma looks different for different people.
That's correct.
Right? So people may have, I have such a headache. Oh, I can't shake this headache. Right. And or you say to your boss, I'm not feeling well, or your manager, and the first thing is not, oh, take care of yourself, or listen, whatever you need to do, let us know because you're one of our top people and we value you. That isn't coming across. What's coming across was, how long you think you're going to be out?
Pretty much.
We need you.
Because we need you. We can't do this. How important you are. You've been out for 2-3 days, so I'm just checking on you. You're checking on when I'm gonna come back.
Isn't that interesting?
And so the trauma, if companies are not creating that space of wellness, and wellness mentally, spiritually, physically, creating that space, or to say that you are valued, not just only because of what you can do, but that you do it well, you do it energetically, you do it authentically. You want to do the business no harm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? By your excellence, I know you want us to succeed. If that is not somehow being rewarded, then you are in essence going to do the business harm, because you're going to have that cycle of turnover. You're going to lose intellectual property. You won't be able to train effectively the new people that come into your business. And if you don't recognize that your people are your best competitor, it's not your technology, it's not the process, it's not how much you pay your CEO, it is the teams is the competitive advantage. People who are swimming in the same direction, people who are clear-eyed about what we're doing, and more importantly, why we're doing it. Whether we're doing it to make money or whether we're doing it to make money so we can do more good, we all understand why we're here. And we are here 100%. And for those who no longer want to be here, that's okay. We celebrated the time that you were with us.
Right.
Tell a friend this is a good place to work. It just may not be a good place to work for you, or at this point for what you want to do. So if we keep that sense of business health and people health connected, no separation, then you're going to make more money for your shareholders than you could ever think of. Right?
Yeah.
And as a non-for-profit, you're going to keep people who are not interested only in doing good, but doing good in a place where they feel good.
That's a fact. That's a
awesome,
fact.
bro.
Well, Ali, the conductor of the orchestra knows that it's not about them. It's about the sound of the orchestra.
Right.
But from the outside looking in, the audience sees the conductor.
Right.
But here's the sound.
Right.
Ali, you are a fantastic conductor.
Thank you.
The orchestra makes a wonderful sound. But I think with you at anybody's helm, the audience is going to know how important the orchestra is, whether or not they see you from your elevated perch or not. So what we like to do here, as we land the plane, because this has been this has been such a spicy, concentrated conversation, a lot. You have to go back and you have to watch this again and listen to the efficacy coming from Ali in expressing the importance of a particular type of leadership, operational leadership. But at this juncture in our format, Ali, we want to give you the final word to say anything that has not been said or answer any questions that have not been asked, anything that may be on your mind to share, on the subject matter or on anything else. And then we'll respond, and then we'll give you your time back. We'll matter of fact, we just put you back in the green room.
Right. Well, I think this is a topic. And first of all, kudos for you, Robert, and you, Jamal, for really having these very critical and impacting and impactful conversations.
Right.
Folks don't want to talk about trauma. They don't want to talk about wellness. They don't want to talk about that one cannot happen without the other. And so your bravery and your authenticity to put out this kind of content, I'm prayerful that folks will come to this channel and just get fed so that when they go back to their day-to-day and something happens, it's going to trigger what they've heard and learned from this channel, and they're going to know how to respond accordingly. That you are in the business of doing good. Yes. Producing good outcomes. And we can produce good outcomes even for people we don't know, just simply by doing what it is you're doing, taking this time away from your families, from your busy schedules. I know you've been working a lot of hours yourselves, both of you. And so for me, I'm just so honored that you chose me to come on and talk about a subject matter that I'm passionate about, because at the end of the day, that is my guiding mission. It is to produce good outcomes in the lives of the people I meet, in the people that I work for and work with, because one of the greatest asset I think a leader has in their toolkit is advocacy. It's a word that people want to make political oftentimes, but a leader is also an advocate for his or her people. His or her people must know that in places and spaces where they have no access or they have no influence, that voice is there for them, that orchestra, that baton is coming into play to keep everything in unison, that I'm an advocate. So for me, coming here, being invited here to talk to you guys about this very important is such an honor. And I thank you for thinking of me. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my perspective. And of course, call on me again. I got lots of bows in my quiver.
I know. I know you do.
Thank you.
I know you do. It's been an honor.
Yes, it
It's been
has.
an honor. Rob, what you got?
Listen, I hope folks pay attention, not just this evening, but also being able to take the whole entire thing and then breaking it down for where you are in your leadership journey, in your journey with your company, right? If you're just starting an organization, you should be taking this information and saying, how do I spread this butter over this bread that I'm making, right? If you're in an organization right now, you say, hey, how do I take the crust off the bread that we already have and make sure that we can turn this into something that really, really works for the people that we have? As we listen to Allie this whole entire time, as she broke down the different pieces about the culture and how culture is a byproduct of behavior, consistent behavior. What are you doing consistently in your organization that will produce the culture of success that you're looking for? How do you make sure that all the different pieces, that your emergency doesn't become a crisis in someone else's household? Right? Something else that I grabbed from this whole entire session, when we think about it, for the 8 hours that you have for me, and then the probably at least an hour or two that I have in commuting, I should find a way to love what I do and who I work with.
Mhm.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Without a
And
doubt.
when you
Without a
really
doubt.
process, when we transition from what the old economy was, let's say before this millennial generation got in, right?
Or even before COVID.
True, true, true.
Mhm.
And when we really think about those different components, it really comes down to that piece where it's like, I want to make sure that this is not just the number one place to work at for opportunities and because of money, but because we are truly riding the wave of building true professionals who love what they do and find a way to take that love with them at home,
Mhm.
compared to you take baggage from work and you go and ruin your household.
That's right.
Right. And we've seen so
Mhm.
much of that. And it's so much,
Mhm.
especially in America, where it's more or less like, hey, just push through.
Mm.
Just imagine where we would be if people were able to truly love what they do.
That's right.
If they truly loved it, they enjoy the people. Like, think about it. We've had the opportunity to work with each other for almost a what is it, almost a decade,
Okay.
at
That's
least
correct.
at least for the three of us, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
When you care for people, when they call and they say, I need help, they don't hear, they don't say, damn. They say, tell me where I'm showing up at. It's a
Mm-hmm.
rally call
Right.
compared to you're taking time out of my life.
That's right.
That rally call is, I'm doing this out of love. I'm
That's right.
doing this not just for the company, I'm doing this for you.
Yes.
Right? We
Yeah.
are we come together, we form like Voltron, we form like the what is it, the Transformers.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
go out
Yeah.
like the Thundercats. I'm an 80s baby. I'll hit
Yeah.
you with the whole thing. The
Yeah.
GI Joe, men and women, we do that whole entire thing because we want the people we work with,
Yeah.
we lead, and we serve to truly be successful.
That's right.
And that's the piece that I listened to Allie from 2012
Mm-hmm.
until what is it? September 23rd,
Right. Right. Right.
2021. That has been the consistent message that I got from that day. So when I tell you, you know, wherever you're going, whoever you're working with, as long as they don't try to hold you back, right? Wherever we are. And that's the one thing about awesome people. People who are awesome and people who truly love what they do, they're going to make an impact that will be multiplied by who you are, or they'll at least do it despite what you do. They're gonna find a way. And I know for a fact Allie is that person, and I'm excited for what she's about to do. I can only imagine the impact that she is going to have. Yes, I'm giving her flowers, and if I had a bottle, I would toast to you right now, but I gotta go to work in the morning. But I will tell you what, listen, and I finished that whole bottle. I finished that whole gallon of honey whiskey too. So, yes, listen, but ultimately,
You of Robert Felder does not represent that of which.
good. But I will tell you this.
He's being his authentic self, and that's what makes him so exceptional and awesome.
That is a part of the podcast. That's why I'm up here instead of listen. This was the only episode. This is the only episode I was gonna come up. I was like, man, I might put a suit on because Allie coming in.
Right.
But I know she loves me and accepts me regardless of how I show up.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things. If you know, when people say mirror someone, and Allie touched on this, and I'll leave it here. Find that person who represents so much of yourself. Like you sit and you like, man, I like this right here. Like the whole persona. Like I ain't rocking no pearls and I ain't rocking the earrings, but I'm telling you right now, I like all this. And then just pay attention and you take notes. Like you take notes. Look, you can't see it because the light's so bright, but like you take notes, not because you don't know your stuff.
Right.
But because there's so many different ways of doing things and learning that it's like, man, I enjoy this. So, and I challenge anyone, like when you start up a company, love on them employees and see that they won't love you back.
That's a fact.
And love on
your
employees and see if they don't love you back.
And that's a fact, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact because, and if any leaders on here that are listening or will listen to this, if what we are describing is not you, that's just not what you do well. Hire somebody that does.
Mm-hmm.
Or develop somebody that you already have to balance your BS.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we need your BS to be fiscally responsible.
Mm-hmm.
But don't try to act like that BS is what is going to make your squad magnetic to the work. Go get somebody, man. It's woman. Now, I don't want to be gender insensitive, but come on. You don't have to be the answer to all the problems. You know what I'm saying? But you could go. That's why we have teams. It's not about you. So if it's not about you as a leader, then it ain't all left on you.
Right.
You understand? And Allie is a great example. We've learned these things from watching Allie lead from the rear. Mm-hmm. Not have the title, not have the salary, but have the passion and have the wherewithal to stand firm on principle and lead people with excellence. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you are in a position now where someone will have a semblance of being able to value who and what you are. Even though where you've gone, you're not going to be absent. Where you've left is not going to be. You're not going to be absent from those processes and those places that you've contributed to. But where you're going, they got a sense of, okay, this is somebody that we gonna value. And I'm so happy for you and for that and for what you're getting ready to do. All right.
And I would just want to add finally that thank you again. That we haven't talked about this, and this is perhaps a topic for another time, but how corporate trauma, how the lack of investment in people particularly impacts and affects people of skin color. Much differently, whether it's because of institutional biases or other factors around race, how it is particularly traumatic in toxic environments where people are not seen, heard, valued, or respected, how
Right.
that impacts even more so people of skin color. And so I want to put that as a topic out there, and you guys can find somebody who can talk about that. But I think when you talk about trauma, we cannot separate the trauma that happens to people of skin color differently than, you know, of our Caucasian and other people. So thank
Hey,
you. I
it's a
just
fact.
wanted to
Don't
put
go nowhere. Don't
that
go
plug.
nowhere. Don't go nowhere, Ali. We've said it on this platform before. Corporate trauma is an equal opportunity experience, but it has a
Mhm.
sweet spot for the disenfranchised, underrepresented,
Yes.
underserved,
Mm-hmm.
in particular, Black and Brown people
Yes.
that cannot wash off their experience.
Mm.
This is a real thing. But Ali, hold on 1 second. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
blessing us with your presence.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yes. Felt like I just left church.
Man, she did it. And she did it in she did it in her way.
Yeah.
And you know what we heard tonight is a case study in
Mm-hmm.
leadership,
Mm-hmm.
right? It is because Rob, I'm gonna tell you, and we've been talking about it for weeks, but the time is up for the old paradigm, top down, traditional hierarchy
Yeah.
that does not prioritize the wellness, the well being, and the success of the people. If
Mm-hmm.
if we don't continue to drum up this narrative that if you treat people as if they are expendable within your organization, then your business becomes expendable
Yeah.
because people aren't having that. Why? Because the mindset that Ali has is winning
Yeah.
in the marketplace. And this is the type of corner that when it's turned, you
Mm-hmm.
can't go back.
Yep. That's a fact.
You can't go back and do it the old way, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't go back where the CEO is making the most money in the organization and it sits on the top floor in the corner office looking over everybody, and that is done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The best one amongst you is the one who keeps their duty the most, which is
Mm-hmm.
in reference to the other people. So
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have to her point, we gotta kind of continue this conversation, man. That was
It was.
phenomenal.
It really was. It really, 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 really was. And as always, you know, people sometimes don't recognize what they got. And I know for a fact there's some folks out there right now have no idea of, like Ali said, what we're bringing to the table
Right?
with this podcast. And it's about the people,
Yeah.
right? People on two ends. You don't own us, sucker, right?
Hashtag
You don't. So don't get it
you
twisted,
don't own me, sucker.
right? And then on the flip side, taking accountability for what we own, right? Being able to process, like, hey, I got some ownership and some say so in this thing.
Right.
And then in doing something with the power that you do have. You know, so that piece, I'll leave it there. And
Yeah.
but this was awesome. This was awesome. I can't wait for this to go out and people, it hits all the major platforms, and we go from there.
Yeah. And Allie's got to come back. You
Yeah,
know,
no, definitely, definitely.
Allie's got an open
She
invitation.
about to be too busy. So
I know she about,
she
what I'm
about to
saying?
be
She
too
about to
busy.
big time us. That's all right.
You
You know what I'm
know,
saying?
she's gonna be too busy. We're gonna have to meet her somewhere in like France or something.
I know we're gonna have to call her assistant. Pretty
Huh?
soon we're gonna have to call her assistant and get on her calendar.
Yeah, you know, I already know how it's about to go. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, bro, this is awesome. Great job today.
Excellent, man. You too. Thank you.
All right.
All right, good people. And last thing, super duper shout out to a man that we want to introduce our audience to in an official way, but the fact that me, Rob, and Allie were on here at the same time, I want to invoke the name of Mr. Donald McCauley, who embodies a lot of the things that we talk about, and has influenced the mindset that a professional should have when coming to work. When we were all together under Mr. McCauley's leadership, I used to foam at the mouth, right? Because I couldn't wait. Like I had to get tissue to clean the fuzz in the corners of my mouth because I wouldn't shut up talking because it was such an invigorating environment, right? And if it were not for him, this conversation would not be taking place. So shout out to Mr. Donald McCauley for his legendary operational and visionary leadership. I am forever grateful for you, my brother.
Amen to that. And we should probably sponsor him one of those classes with Lethal Shooter for his jump shot.
or start him a GoFundMe for a new cell phone. We got to get him a new cell phone, man. Dang. But good people.
It's been a
listen.
pleasure.
Remember, corporate trauma is a sneaky passive trauma that will creep up on you, and when it does,
it is time to level up. Let's go.
Have a good evening. We can't wait to see you next week.
All right.
Later.